Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters, and this is episode 30. I've been doing this for a year. It has been a lot of fun, and I know I haven't been on here in a little while. I think it's been about a month since I did my last podcast. I had a really busy month with work in May, and I did a little bit of traveling, and I've basically been working through my own process. There's been some things that have happened to me in the last couple months, and I'll go into it a little further as we get into this week's episode. But I do plan on bringing in much more content, and I've been listening to what you would like to hear. And I'm going to do a series on a relationship. I just had an amazing woman on yesterday. I plan to release her episode in a couple weeks. But before that, I'm going to do a series on relationships, breakups, how to process through dating online and how to recognize red flags and be ready for, just really, really big love. Because as we are finally winding down on this never-ending pandemic, it seems that a lot of people have suffered a lot of loneliness, or they felt a lot of isolation. Some people might have been, scared to get out there and afraid of the virus or whatever the television's been propagating to them. And it's been like, they're taking little baby steps out there. And then there's, some people that just don't have the same like-minded individuals that they can connect with, because it's been a lot. Like, let me tell you, in this lifetime, I've never experienced anything like this before. So I know things are lightening up here in Portland, thank God, because I survived. I call myself a survivor. I survived winter in Portland. Like, everybody believes everything. It seems a majority of them believe everything that the television's telling them, and everyone's wearing masks, and no one's interacting, and you go for a walk on the path and they're turning away from you or hiding in fear. Like, as I said, I'm always one that will never wear a mask outdoors. I breathe fresh air, I'm respectful and polite, but it's like, it could kind of get to me sometimes. Of course, I don't believe in the whole mask thing. There's science that shows that it doesn't work. But of course, if I go into a business, I'm going to wear it to be respectful to the business. And I wear it at work because we have to. So yes, things are opening up. Thank you, Lord in heaven. And it's such a beautiful place that I live. Like, spring is absolutely epic with all the flowers and all the scents and all the green and the summer. And it's just so beautiful with all the trees and the fresh air, and, events are starting to return. So I'm really looking forward to creating some new friends. And I've really been active in getting out there. I've gone on a couple meetups, and I turned on Bumble BFF. Like, after a last really bad date, I turned off the dating part and went on to Bumble to look for friends, because, that's one thing that's been missing here since I left California, is my group of friends. So I've been flying back and forth to like California, Arizona, Florida, Atlanta. I've been all over the place just to visit my friends. So it would really be nice to experience summer in Portland, since last summer was a bust, not just here, but for everyone, everywhere, to enjoy where I live and, enjoy the great outdoors. So I'm really looking forward to that. With that being said, there is a little bit of wonkiness that's happening here in Oregon, and it's one that's made me contemplating moving. And that's why I went to Atlanta recently to see if it might be a place I'd want to move to escape some of the things that are coming down the pipeline here. And let's hope that it gets overturned and gets voted out, because really, I don't understand how health freedom and freedom of choice, what to do with the big V, we can't escape it. It's propagated everywhere. Take the COVID shot, take the COVID shot, take the COVID shot. I ain't taking the COVID shot. I mean, this is just my I'm not minimizing anything that's happened to people that have gotten really sick or have been affected or really have been afraid all year, but this is my own personal story and my own personal beliefs and where I stand from fundamentally. Like, I have never been afraid of this virus. As soon as it was launched, I was never afraid. I've gone through every flu season. I don't get any shots for it. I don't get sick. I knew my body would have the ability to heal. Even when we didn't even understand what was happening, I knew energetically that I would be okay. And if I didn't fear, I wasn't going to attract that which I didn't want into my environment or my experience. And I didn't. And even as time went on and more of this came out, like so much of it just didn't make sense. And because of that, I did my own diving and I did my own research. I went down that damn rabbit hole. Let me tell you, not a pretty sight. And I had to claw my way back out of it because it really woke me up. And, my eyes are fully open and I am so awake. And some of the things that they're trying to implement here, how is it any different than Jim Crow? Like Oregon, they're like, everyone else is opening up and they're like trying to do like, oh, show us your papers. You can come in here and you don't have to wear a mask if you can prove that you've been vaccinated. How is this okay? Okay. So, and here's the thing, there's so much virtual signaling out here with people that have gotten vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. They're even putting on apps and all that such. But how is that not prejudice? Especially this town that is all about Black Lives Matter and equality and all that. But there's such a disconnect from, it's like, okay, it's okay this way, but it's not okay this way. It's like, you can't have it both ways. It's hypocrisy. So you're vilifying people that have their own health choices. It should be their decision, what they're comfortable with. And you do yours. Like if you're going to get the V, that's for you. It doesn't protect anyone else because you can still give or get it once you get the vaccine, but it's protecting yourself. So if you're afraid of getting the coronavirus, then you take the vaccine. So then you have less of a chance of having a bad reaction. But most people are going to have very mild to moderate symptoms and 99.9% will survive from this virus. So for me personally, I'd rather take my chances with the wild virus being out there and letting my body handle it. And as of 1.5 years of this being out there, I haven't even gotten a sniffle. So, and I know there's early treatments that are available that have been hid from us because I really do believe that the whole virus thing is a vaccine agenda. And that's not conspiracy theory. There's actual facts that can back it up. And I'll put those resources in the show notes. And again, what is conspiracy theory when it comes true? And most of what has been quote unquote conspiracy theory has come to pass. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people are not getting all the information they need to make an informed choice because that's what it's about, an informed choice. And the government and the media, corrupt media, they're gaslighting and they're not being transparent. And the big pharma's definitely not being transparent. Let everybody have all the information and make that decision because really right now, as I'm recording this in June 2021, it's still experimental. It is authorized under emergency use. It is not FDA approved and it's not expected to be until the end of 2023. So for me, this is no different than when I was a teenager. I never experimented with drugs. I'm not willing to play Russian roulette with my body because we don't know what we're going to get with this injection. So you might be fine after you get the shot, but then long term down the road, you might have some kind of autoimmune issue that stems from getting this vaccine. Like it's been rushed into production, warp speed. I mean, no long-term studies. For me, that's really scary. I mean, this is for me. No, honey, you ain't shoving that needle in my arm. And hello, zero liability? I don't think so. I'm kind of sitting back and kind of watching to see what happens because there are a lot of injuries that are happening. They're not reporting properly about that. And some things are coming into light, which we've known about for a long time and that we've gotten censored and deplatformed because of. That's the origins of where this virus is from. And the Fauci emails have been released. I didn't need to read the emails because I've kind of taken a detox from social media. More on that in a little bit. But it's just proving that, a lot of what they said is just a bunch of BS. So that is it's just my own personal choice. And I'm finding that a lot of us that feel this way have to really defend themselves, because people are like, oh, you can't travel, or oh, I only want my vaccinated friends. And you do know that when this mRNA, which is in the Pfizer and the Moderna shot, is injected into you, creates something called a spike protein. And this spike protein, for up to 7 to 10 days, you can become a contagious spreader for something that could adversely affect someone that has underlying autoimmune issues. So we should actually be afraid of you. So let's stop the virtue signaling. Everybody has their own choices on what to do. And some people that choose not to get the jab are some of the healthiest people out there, or have recovered from CV, or they have medical issues which prevents them from safely getting vaccinated. It's not a one size fits all. No government, no pharmaceutical company, no politician has a right to tell you what to do, because man, that is a slippery slope. And you really have to ask yourself, God, what is the big push? Like, it is such a big push. I understand we're trying to get us back to the normal, and vaccines have done a lot of good over the years, but there's no addressing the people that have already had it or the people that are already immune to it. It's just get the vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. People are getting injured from it. So, and it's gotten really, really creepy. Like, all these incentives and all this bribery to get it, like $1 million lotteries. Couldn't the states use that money? Like I can think of 100 different ways, feed the homeless or help out the businesses that have suffered because you've locked them down so long. Kind of makes more sense, instead of like coercing people to take an experimental shot, this experimental injection, and bribing them with donuts and French fries. Or free memberships to something. Come on, like really wake up and think about that. It doesn't make sense. Really think about that. If it really worked, you wouldn't have to bribe people to get it. You wouldn't have to incentivize. You wouldn't have to propagate it over and over and bang it into people's heads. Because what it's clearly showing me, at least, is it's not about our health. It's not. So, that comes to my whole detox. So I've seen that I got so wrapped up in the goings-ons. Like I said, I don't pay attention to mainstream news, but I had my alternate sources of news, like people in the health industry, doctors, thousands of virologists and nurses and people that were working in the health industry, some politicians and all that. So I had my own sources that I would go to for news. And then I had my Instagram, and I had people that I followed. Well, you know what? I got so wrapped up in it. Like, I noticed that it kind of became an addiction. And I noticed that I must have been getting a rush on it, just like you would anything else. Just like if you were addicted to sugar, or you needed bread, or I don't even want to compare it to porn or something like that, something that's giving you a charge. And I recognized that. And it wasn't doing any good, because I would wake up in the middle of the night and be terrified. For 2 straight weeks, I was terrified that someone's going to stick something in my body that I didn't want it, that I was going to force to do this thing that could be very detrimental to my health, and my decision was going to be taken away from me. So I literally I had put all my social and my news sources in the back of my phone under a crack file. But that didn't work very well, because I would just scroll to the back of my phone and open that crack file and get immersed in the crack. And I'd spend hours there, back and forth. And I don't know if any of you have ever looked at your phones. There's actually something in the settings where you can look at how many times you pick up your phone, how long you've spent in each application. And I was horrified, picking up my phone 44 times and spending 2 hours on an Instagram or Facebook. So, and I had an Instagram timer on mine for an hour, which I far exceeded many times. I stuck to it, but then I far exceeded it. So what I did is I just deleted Facebook. I deleted Messenger. I deleted all my channels off my phone. So and Instagram, I haven't even opened. I haven't felt the need to open it. So it's been so great. It's been over a week, and I plan to do it for at least 21 days, because that's the best way to create a habit, is 21 days. So, and really it's like a detox. So I have to detox from it. I have felt no temptation to go on. I'm hearing about news when I hear it from somebody else, but I try not to delve in too deep, because it's literally my state of mind. It's my mental health. And everything that I've been wrapped up, all that time time that I spent in these apps and looking at the news, it was feeding something inside me. It was feeding my own fear inside me because I didn't want to be forced to do something I didn't want to do. And I'm seeing all the corruption that's happening in the government and in the medical industry. And it's like, I can't control what's happening. I can know enough, but I don't have to be swept away by it because we can control our reactions and how we respond to situations. I can't control everything that's happening out there. There was a period of time I wanted to warn the world and warn everybody, wake up. Oh my gosh, the world's ending. Oh my gosh. Like, I am so grateful that I never paid attention to any of this stuff before I did, because let me tell you, it's a lot. So the detox, it's been great. I haven't even had the temptation to really go on, like I said. And if I do hear about something, I hear it from somebody else, and I'm able to, all that time I used to spend, I'm spending doing other things. Like I'm reading more. I'm getting back into my spiritual practices. I'm getting my mindset. I'm doing more projects. It's been great. And the only time I really see it, I hear about stuff. I see it when I go outside or I hear about it, and then it's still triggering me a little, but until it doesn't trigger me anymore, until I can look at it as an observer, when I can come from a detached standpoint, not have attachments to certain things, then I'll go back on, but I'll only go back on as needed. Social media is great, but it can be all consuming. So I plan on spending the summer or spending the next couple months and going forward doing things like interacting personally or interacting one-on-one and getting out there, enjoying people's company and surrounding myself with like-minded people. Like I am really committed to finding a community of people out here that feel the same way I do. And we can just go out there and smile at each other, not be afraid to do things that we used to do pre-2020, February 2020. So let's have a great summer going forward. And I hope you all do too. And again, this is just my own process. This is just my own truth about how I am responding to how I've responded to this entire pandemic and what's happening with the whole vaccine agenda and all that. You know, you might not feel the same way, and that's okay. You might have your own way that you might resonate with this, and that's fine. That's why we are these beautiful individual human beings. We're allowed to express our own individuality. And that's what's so great about living here in the United States. We've always been able to have that freedom. And let's hope it continues, because some of the things that are happening or were in the pipeline to happen have been very scary. And let's hope that we are releasing a lot of it. It feels like there's a lot more lightness out there. And, you know, it's so wonderful to see people's smiles again and people outside enjoying themselves. It felt very oppressive this winter, especially here. It was very dark. Nothing was open. It was oppressive. So now that I've gotten through that, I'm looking forward to being outside and not getting the evil eye and walking around with what felt like a force field around me, ready to do battle, because that's no way to live. You know, how can you have an awakened heart if you're closed off, ready to fight? Because that's what I was ready to do every single day. So, and you know, and it's being respectful and mindful of where that person might be coming from. They have their own comfort levels, and learning not to be triggered by what somebody else is doing or not doing, because that will only lead to misery. So it goes back to that old adage that we are not responsible for what somebody else thinks of us, or what they think of us is none of our business, because it really isn't, because it has nothing to do with us. So let's live a life that is positive, that's, you know, that's inspirational, that, you know, as long as you're not being a detriment to society and you have values and you wish no ill harm against anyone, let's take care of ourselves. Let's, you know, stop minding other people's businesses, and we'll be a lot happier, and we can flourish as a society, as individuals, and as community. Again, thank you so much for listening. As I said, I've got much more coming up in the next couple weeks. much more about living from an awakened heart, and I think at the foundation of awakened heart is love and being able to receive. We all long for love, whatever form that is, whether it's from a child, whether it's from your parents. But I think intimate love is very important. And I think it's what a lot of people are longing for right now, especially with what we went through in the last year and a half. So thank you for listening. And I look forward to bringing you some more amazing episodes of the Awaken Heart podcast. Have a great day. Thanks so much. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awaken Heart podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at theawakenheartpodcast.com.